You know that pack of gum you've got in your packet or your bag? Have you ever wondered if it could be a secret weapon for losing weight? It sounds like a pretty simple question, but the answer, well, it's way more complex than you might think. Let's unwrap the science behind it.
I mean, it sounds a little too good to be true, doesn't it? That a simple, everyday habit could help tackle the incredibly complex problem of weight management. But instead of just guessing, we're going to look at what the hard evidence actually says.
And look, this isn't just some casual question. This is a big deal. The World Health Organization found that a whopping 43% of adults worldwide were living with overweight back in 2022. So you can see why the search for simple, accessible tools is more critical than ever. And that brings us back to our question. Could chewing gum be one of them?
So how do we find a real answer? Well, we're going to dig into a major systematic review. Now, what that means is that scientists gathered up all the best, most rigorous studies on this topic and put them all together. This gives us the most reliable overview possible. So let's break down what the researchers discovered.
All right, our first clue in this whole investigation, and you could argue it's the most powerful one, is how chewing gum might actually hack our appetite. You know, that fundamental biological drive we all have to eat.
First, let's get this term straight. Appetite regulation. This is not just about your stomach growling. Nope. It's the whole complex system in your brain that creates cravings and that desire to eat even when you aren't technically hungry. And yeah, it's a huge factor when it comes to managing weight.
And this is where it gets really interesting. When researchers analyzed all the data, a clear pattern emerged. In a majority of studies, we're talking 5 out of 7, chewing gum significantly reduced feelings of hunger. And even more specifically, 3 out of 4 studies found it helped curb cravings for sweet snacks. That's a pretty compelling result. Okay, so chewing gum can reduce hunger. But does that feeling actually make people feel fuller, or more importantly, does it make them eat less? This is where the evidence starts to get, well, messy. And to understand why it's messy, we need to talk about satiety. This is different from appetite. Satiety is that feeling of being physically full. It's the signal from your stomach to your brain that says, okay, we're good down here, you can stop eating now. And this really shows the confusion in the data. When it came to feeling full, satiety, the results were all over the map. But what about actually eating less? The evidence there was even weaker. Out of 7 studies that tracked how many calories people ate, only 2 found that chewing gum actually made them eat less. That connection is starting to look pretty weak. This brings up a fascinating question. If chewing gum isn't reliably making people eat less, what exactly is it doing to reduce that feeling of hunger? To find out, we need to go deeper. We need to look at the hormonal level. So let me introduce you to GLP-1. This is a powerful gut hormone that your body naturally releases after you eat. It's a key player in appetite control, acting like a message sent from your gut to your brain saying, okay, we're good, you can stop feeling hungry now. The experiment to test this was brilliantly simple. Researchers had participants fast, then come into the lab for 2 separate sessions. In one, they chewed sugarless gum for 30 minutes. In the other, they did absolutely nothing. The key question was this: could the simple act of chewing alone be enough to trigger this powerful hormone? And the results were fascinating. If you look at the control group, the ones who did nothing, their GLP-1 levels dropped, which is totally normal when you're fasting. But the group that chewed gum is different. Their levels stayed elevated. So get this, chewing didn't increase the hormone, but it stopped it from falling. It essentially kept that I'm not hungry signal switched on for longer. Okay, so let's recap. We've seen a consistent effect on reducing hunger, a really messy picture on calorie intake, and a fascinating hormonal mechanism at play. But now let's bring it all back to the original, multi-million-dollar question: does any of this actually lead to weight loss? This is the crucial takeaway from the entire scientific review. When they searched for long-term studies that actually put people on a scale and measured their weight, they found only 1. And the result of that 8-week trial? The gum-chewing group lost absolutely no more weight than the control group. 0 effect. So after all this, what was the researchers' final word? They concluded that while chewing gum is definitely not a magic bullet for weight loss, it could be a promising non-pharmacological tool. And a tool used for what? For exactly what we saw earlier: appetite regulation. So where does that leave us? Well, the science is clear. Chewing gum is not a shortcut to weight loss. But it does appear to be a legitimate tool for tackling one key piece of the puzzle: managing hunger and cravings. It's not the magic solution we might hope for, but perhaps the real question is this: in the complex battle of weight management, Could winning the small, daily fight against cravings be exactly the edge you need?